Okay, I have a question. I've been following. I've watched all your stuff always. I've been up to date with all the like drama. What's
drama? I know.
Like behind the scenes, what's happening with you and Gila, because she's your sister-in-law, right?
Yeah.
And you're like kind of seem to be in like this public fight with Ethan, but are behind the scenes like, is everything okay? Are you not worried long term? Because like you know, you guys are gonna be your family.
Yeah. It really, it's such a messy thing. I should note that I was like gonna come on here even before Frenemies ended, because we had this booked like before, and then Frenemies ended, and I was like, oh, and hopefully you guys don't get hate for having me on, because I did one interview since post Frenemies and you got so much hate. They're like, we hate Trisha, so there's a big hate campaign right now.
Don't worry about it. We don't believe in that.
Okay.
We don't
We're
care.
fine.
Okay.
Inner locus of control.
Yeah. No, I've always been fine with her. Actually, she's always been really nice. I have no issues with Gila. It's like literally was between me and Ethan, but Ethan like drags like a lot of people, and obviously it's his wife, so obviously, but like personally, like, you know, we haven't talked or anything, but like I'm totally, like, we've never had an issue. I think it's more because I'm like Ethan and I'm like totally over it now. I mean, I don't know, but
have you guys talked?
No, we're like,
really?
Yeah.
Did you guys during that time that things were going down like consider like you know how they have those work therapists?
Oh, like a couples therapist, but for
the workplace and stuff.
Wow.
I've had to do that.
I would be so really. With who?
Donut. His dog likes Dave better.
No, I was on a show where I was co-starring with my best friend at the time, and like it was really a lot. Like we were doing so much, and so we like saw a therapist for a few sessions, and it really helped us.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
End
would
the show.
help.
Yeah, peacefully.
Yeah.
No, the network ended the show.
But that is a really tricky thing and a really big gamble to work with family or work with really like close friends.
But
and
also
whatnot.
the show was called Frenemies, so you knew there was like the contention. Right?
Of course,
So,
yeah. And that's what everyone was saying too. They're like, well, that is the show. And it's like, I always thought that was the show too, you know, but then, you know, it's fine. It is what it is. But like, yeah, I always thought that too. I feel like if it was like a reality show, like the drama helps it.
Yeah.
But I think there was just like a point of just it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
And so they're very like no drama, and I'm very drama unintentionally. But like
I understand your point of view and your side of I
thank you.
Yeah, I understand what happened from what I understand, whatever. But I'm curious, do Moses and Gila, like, are they like back channeling, like, while you and Ethan are fighting? Are they like, because they're brother and sister, like everything's okay? Like,
yeah, you know, I know. I guess that was my issue, because Ethan said like Gila's family is so mad at Trish. We talked to his mom this morning, and she goes, "I love Trish. Like, tell her I love her." And like, his brother's coming out to stay with us. Like, we're all cool, like the family. Again, they like him and Gila probably talk and stuff like that, but he doesn't like tell me as much or whatever. But Ethan's like dragged his mom into it and all this stuff like that. So it's becoming more of a family issue than it had to be, in my opinion. Because it really was like I had this issue with Ethan, and I get, okay, it also involves Gila because that's your wife, but then like involving like family in Israel and this, you know, because they're all like, we're cool. We thought it was done as of this morning. Like we thought everything, you know, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard from either of them. Like hopefully, I mean, we have a wedding, and so hopefully, and we did family activities before, so hopefully.
Yeah, and like you and Moses want to start a family, and they obviously have kids. It's like you guys are going to be a family regardless.
Yeah.
So
right,
there's
and
going to be babies involved.
Yeah, I feel like time is so fresh and stuff, but he's so like. Right now, it's just like a lot of like whatever.
Well,
so I'm trying to.
It's not different from any other family drama, right? Like these things happen in our own families. Yours is just heightened because it's in the public eye, and so it's like that's when it gets a little bit.
And she made a lot of videos,
right? Which I deleted. I'm like, you know,
did?
yeah, I deleted all of them because I really am like, okay, let me just disengage and not do this because like going back and forth, like obviously we just don't see eye to eye, so it's just like a lot.
Yeah.
So I just kind of pulled the plug on that, but like when you were saying like we started the show and it's hard to work with family, like I think at the time me and Moses were like just started officially dating for like a month. So I think in his head, like everyone else is like, oh, this is like not gonna last. But everyone said, like even when me and Moses dating, they like they told Moses like, don't date Trisha, it's gonna end in disaster. So I don't know why he decided to start a show with me if he thought our relationship would end in a disaster. But
it is. You guys are unfortunately magic together.
Me and Ethan. I know, it's really sad. It's really sad. I'm very sad about it.
My mom, she doesn't watch anything. She doesn't even watch my own podcast. She watches Frenemies.
Oh.
You know? Yeah.
Well, they probably don't talk about her on
Yesterday, darling, you have Trisha tomorrow. Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, Ma, watch my shit. Subscribe to mine.
You have too. You're like, I'm on all these podcasts. Does your mom talk like that? Does she have an accent?
Yeah, she's a really thick accent.
Love accents. I love accents. That's so cool.
But she's in love with you.
Oh, is she here? Is she here in
No,
LA?
she's not.
Oh, you should bring
She
her.
should be upstairs cleaning, but she's
That'd be so
lagging.
fun. You should have your mom on.
I don't want to. I mean, yeah, I don't want to like make you feel bad about it because I think like that it just happens. But do you feel like? Because I have seen you guys have quit before. Do you feel like this quit is gonna stick, or is there any chance?
You know, for me, I did. I quit the show like 3 times, and then we brought Dr. Drew back, and it was fine. So for me, in my head, when I say I quit something, like, and this is it's a toxic pattern, so I'm not saying it's okay, but every time I quit, or if I just, I don't know this anymore to Moses, but I'd always be like, I want to break up with you, and then he just like, in an hour, I'm like totally fine.
I do that too.
Right. Okay, so you get it. So that's how I was. I was pissed after our argument, but then literally an hour later, he's like, hey, we paid $5,000 for this rage room tomorrow. Do you want to do it? I'm like, obviously, yes. So I was like down to film the next day. It was gonna be fine. And then he texted and I was like, the crew is really mad at you.
Right.
And I don't want to
and that made you feel like alienated.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, well then I'm just like quitting, and I did my I quit video. And then it turned into a snowball into his thing, because then he did a video about.
Do you
like,
feel as though when you put a video out like that you have to double down? Like, do you ever feel that way where you're like, you impulsively feel so rageful?
Yeah.
And then even though you're not necessarily feeling like you want to like follow through with the quitting, but now it's out there, so you have to double down on that decision.
Yeah. I was doing that like tenfold. I was doubling down, you know what I mean? And then there is a point of like almost like no return, right? Like I felt, in my opinion, that I was being like respectful, like, because there was a time when I like came for Eli when she wasn't even involved. That was 6 months ago, and I thought we moved past it, and then he threw it in my face again this past time, and it was like so ugly and so awful, and it was just all on my end, not Hila's side. So this time I was like, I didn't name call, which is like a huge improvement for me. Usually I like, when I'm in a fight, I like name call. I want to like, I'm the meanest. So I thought this time I like handled myself well, but for some reason this was like the biggest one that everyone's hanging on to, and like we hate Trisha now. So it's
well, I could tell that the way you handled the fight that they aired on the show, it's like you clearly were trying like a new coping mechanism of just like, I'm gonna, like, you were like, let's end it. Like, you're powering down, like, let me walk away from the situation, which like is the kind of the right move, right?
I'm different. I come from a very, very dysfunctional family. So it's like, let's lay it all out and let's work through it, because ultimately I know that we love each other. That's an undeniable fact. We're just not working through the other stuff that is muddying up the water. So like, my thing is to not ever run away, which is maybe a very unhealthy pattern for me, because I stick around in possibly like make bad relationships for way long. But and in therapy, I talk about it as like, why is my threshold so high? Like, why do I want to always make it
Dig
work?
in.
Yeah, like I'm like, come on, we got this, we can do this. And I think that ultimately I do that if I feel like there is this like foundation of like love there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that it speaks to you guys, but like, and again, I don't know you and Ethan in that way.
Yeah.
But when I look at you guys together and that dynamic, like there is that like tangible love. Like I see it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's why also too it was like so explosive, because it's always the people around me that like get it the worst. Like I'm never like, I don't just go off on people I don't know, 'cause it's like I keep that in, but I feel like it is the people closest to me. Like me and Moses had a really big one last year that like, that's when I was like, okay, I really do need to get on medication, because I do have something wrong with me. I'm borderline and I'm schizophrenic, and so I just got on medication for that, and like I feel like it's helped a lot. But the problem is I got put on the medication at the end of May, and this was June 8th. So I think like during the transition time, like it takes like 4 to 6 weeks for medication. I probably like shouldn't have been on the podcast, because I think it was just like I felt like like you were saying, I felt like I was trying to disengage, because that's what they teach you in like in borderline. Yeah, they're like, and same thing with Moses, because it's like for me, I just get angrier and angrier, which is like not good. But when I sleep on something, I'm like, oh no, what did I do? I felt so that's where the doubling down then came in. But yeah, I feel like I should have been. I don't know. I feel like it's just too far gone. Like
you never know.
I don't. Yeah, I think that like really you have no control over what other people think of you or feel about you, especially in this like public eye that you're in. So it's really like just being true to yourself, learning your own lessons, being your best self, and like not being mad at yourself for things you did and just like having an open heart.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's where I'm at too, because I would spiral before. And I think a lot of it is I'm codependent on Moses, and I have Moses. I think if I was like single, I'd be like spiraling so much because that's what I used to do all the time. So the internet knows me as being like crazy or whatever. But I feel like now it's like, or even being here, you know, just being around like people outside of the internet, because his fans are so hardcore and they're like F you and all this like crazy stuff. So it's like, oh my God. But then like being here and you're like, we don't care what, you know, like the real like other people, like it's really between me and Ethan. And then obviously people, Frenemies fans are upset or whatever. But I don't know, when you get in the real world, you're like, okay, it's not as serious as it feels. And I can't change what I did. I did an apology. He didn't accept it. And that's totally fine. But it's like, there's nothing more I can do. I can't go back in time.
That's almost better though, because you did it for yourself, and it wasn't like, I really have been trying in my life to not do things to get an outcome from something, you know, and just to really do it like from me outward, and then whatever happens.
That's so, but that, you know what, I said that in my apology too, because I was like, you know, maybe this is kind of selfish that I want to do this for me because I feel really bad about it, and then people were like, wow, the apology wasn't even for Ethan, like you're just doing it for selfish reasons. And I was like, but in a way, like that is what I had to take from it, because he didn't want to accept it. And again, it's fine, but it's like I had to release it for me because I felt so much guilt for how I handled it.
Like no matter what you do, you're at that level where there's always going to be people who are upset about what you did. And you know what, like the commenters are like 0.5% of the actual people who are watching. And I think Kalila
like my
told
mom.
Yeah. I love
my mom, while she's really upset about the breakup, she's like, I love both of them.
Aww.
She's not siding with anyone.
I love that.
And those are the true stands, I think.
Yeah, it's like the people who are just watching quietly. Like you said, like most people are watching quietly. They buy a couple tickets to the live show. They buy their merch, and they never voice their opinion. And I feel like we have to remember that's the majority of who we're like here to entertain.
And they're also, you have no clue, like so many times, like if I've like gotten triggered by a comment that someone made, if I go back at them, they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm a big fan. It's like, so I'm really trying to like release my judgment even on people that are like, you're a fat whore. Like I'm just like, I don't know what your day is, but it's like, cause if I'm judging them and pissed, like it's now I'm attaching and I'm like letting them have my energy.
And the amount of times Annie and I have been called refrigerator bodies.
And it like is right in a weird way. I was like,
wait, what's a refrigerator body?
Like, it's like a square, a rectangle.
Oh my God. But that's what I'm saying. No matter what people always hate, because you guys are like model-esque, beautiful, like skinny, and I'm just like, dang, like, and then they get me. They call me like little Porky Pig and stuff like that. So they're just not happy. Refrigerator, Porky, whatever.
I mean,
what are your thoughts
like
on
Miss Piggy, bitch? At least like I'm high.
I love Miss Piggy. Yeah, I take that as a compliment all day long.
What are your thoughts on? I know that people are tying it to the pizza curse, but is there really something to having pizza
and him dressing as Uncle Fester?
Yeah.
Did you guys have pizza both times that you? Okay, so we're obviously friends, but I think our biggest disagreement between the three of us was right
whether
after
it was
pizza.
Domino's, whether we like Domino's or Papa John's.
Here we like Domino's.
Yeah,
isn't that true? I think there's something to the pizza curse.
Oh, that's so weird. Well, that's so weird because I've been eating Domino's like my entire life. Like I eat it like 3 times a week, so I don't know. Maybe it's like eating it with people or something. But I've always eaten Domino's.
Maybe you don't have all of these personality disorders you just said, and maybe you just it's Domino's.
Maybe I need to eat a
Trish,
card.
can I ask you about schizophrenia?
Yeah.
I
What are
want to ask
to what degree do you have like auditory hallucinations?
Both. I have auditory and visual. Yeah.
Do you have smell?
No.
And do they come in like when you're off the meds? Is it something that's like chronic that you get every day, or do you have bigger like episodes?
It was getting to be every day, which is why I like sought help, because I thought I got diagnosed with borderline in 2019. I was in like 3 mental hospitals that year. So I was like, oh, I'm just borderline. That's it. Like I didn't think there was anything more. And then I started I started hearing things in my head. Like it started off like bells and whistles and stuff like that. And I actually like applied for this like reality show. It was like right before quarantine hit, and we were taking out this thing. I was like, do you see like shapes that aren't like, do you see like animals that aren't there? So I would always see like animals. I would see shapes. I would see all this stuff like that were like not there. And I was thinking like, and I was doing a lot of Xanax. So I thought at the time it was like a Xanax thing. So my doctor's like, no, just get off Xanax. Like, my therapist was like, get off Xanax. You're fine. You're not schizophrenic, all this stuff like that. But when it started to be voices, and it was like voices with people that were next to me, like my sister, I'd be like, oh, no, that's not it. And she goes, what are you? I didn't say anything. So I was like having conversations. I was hearing her have the conversations. Yeah. And so they used to be really dark voices. And then the darkness kind of went away. It was really like, and people would say, well, Ethan actually was like, oh, those are intrusive thoughts. But they were more than like intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
It was like literally someone telling me.
There's a very big line between intrusive thoughts and actually like
there's a
auditory
person,
hallucination.
yeah. To me, there was a person like next to me. You know, I would hear like family members next to me being like, "Oh, you know, if you just like, there's a window." Like, I didn't go upstairs for our house for the first month. Like, you know, there's a window. You should just jump out of it, and then like, you know, you'll see your grandma. You'll see all this things. Like, it was very like comforting voices, and I never was suicidal. I never heard voices. When I was a kid, I did, and I was taken for diagnosis, and it wasn't schizophrenia. They gave me bipolar medication. I was really young. It was like I was on lithium a couple times. But yeah, and it was weird. They kind of subsided. I don't know if it's because like I was doing a bunch of drugs for most of my life here in Hollywood. I don't know what it was, but they would subside, and then I don't know, like last year it started to get bad, and then this year it got really bad, and then they went from like dark voices when I started going. There's one thing called cognitive group therapy I've been doing, and it's like other. I won't get too much into it, but other than like they started like helping me, and then I was starting to hear like more positive voices, but it was more just like every day. Like I thought Moses would be talking to me and he wasn't, you know, but he'd be sitting right there. And then the visual stuff I see a lot, and that's more daytime, like in the sun and stuff like that. Like I see a lot of animals, I see a lot of shapes that weren't there, and I still see shapes, and those are like a whole new thing. And I didn't know that was like a thing, but I see like squares and triangles that appear and bells and stuff like that.
Do you see refrigerators in front of you?
I don't see refrigerators.
Does Moses ever say I love you and you're like, I'm hearing things? It must be.
I mean, honestly, and what it's, I know, right? I wish I could control like what I hear from people, because it's always just random stuff too. It's never. But yeah, the medication helps so much, like with it. Because
do you mind if I ask what you're on?
It's called like Klepter.
Klepto. I've been called one of those before.
It's something like I don't know
I've
how
been
to
one
say
of
it.
those.
Yeah,
It's really, really difficult.
yeah, it's
and
something
scary.
It's so scary. It's like really scary, because and a lot of people are like, you don't just develop skills. You know, people on the internet have like all this like
They're
expertise.
so fucking annoying.
Yeah, they're like, you don't just develop it. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like I just started hearing voices like
Love and light, love and light,
Right.
love and light, cunt, love and light.
I know, it's like so. But I went to 2 different psychiatrists. Like I went to 2 before getting on medication. I don't like being on medication. I've never I've been on medication improperly, and I got off it right away, because those are the only times I've ever been like suicidal thoughts were on medication. I was like never liked it.
But that's the one thing they don't tell people that are newly on meds, is that the first month that you're on it is the window of time that you should be watched the most. Because if you have any type of suicidal ideation, let's say for instance you're down into pits. This is coming from me because I've been in and out of like hospitals on 5150s and whatnot.
Oh, I didn't know.
And so when I had suicidal ideation, it was never when I was the most depressed that I ever tried to hurt myself. It was when I finally got on meds. And so the suicidal ideation was still there, but now I had the energy to execute.
Yes.
So now I had the energy to actually carry out what my plan, versus just being like this sad vegetable in bed. And so that first month is really like what like for anybody that's like watching, like watch your family members, watch your kids, watch your loved ones when they're first getting on meds. It doesn't just, it's all better, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When you went to the hospitals, did you find that they helped you? Because I felt like mine made me like worse. Like they forced medication on me that I shouldn't have taken.
I found some really great friends there.
Yeah.
So
The guy you fucked?
Yeah, I know. Were they real?
But the third place I went to in Torrance, and I was there for about 3 weeks. I didn't know it at that time. I didn't equate it to like bad behavior on his part at that time, but I eventually dated one of the counselors there. And he asked for my number the day that he was helping me pack.
You're like, my number is 16.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's my mom's phone.
And he was a dad. Like
Yeah.
he claimed to be a single dad, but now I'm like, oh, maybe, maybe
Well,
he's
it's
a
always
married
those
man.
people that are dealing with at-risk teens. I don't
I
want to
know.
get the molested bell. I was molested.
I'll get it for you.
Oh my God. I don't believe in mental. When I was in my mental hospital, I went to Alhambra.
Which one?
and-
BHC?
Huh?
BHC
Is that
in
what it's called?
Alhambra.
Oh, yeah. Have you been?
Yes, twice.
Really?
Yes.
Esther, are you having FOMO? There's still time, Esther. Don't worry.
It was just a long hallway, just one long hallway.
Yes,
And it was
with the
like,
rooms on the side on each side.
Yeah, and then there was like the room where you color at that corner.
Yes.
And then you had to go across, like your level 2 was you get to go out to dinner across the way to like the dining
You
hall.
got to go out?
Oh my God,
Yeah,
imagine
I
being
got,
a
like-
waitress at that place. Like, ooh.
Wait.
Like, these are not good tippers.
I wonder how you paid. I guess my family came and visited me because they did visiting hours at like 6 p.m. or something.
Yeah, and they always say they had like your contraband. You weren't allowed to like hold anything in your possession that you could, not even like safety pins or
Did
anything.
they check inside you?
They check everything.
I bet that one did.
Because everyone is there.
No, they don't go in your vagina.
No, they don't.
No. But they have guys check on you like in the middle of the night when they do their checks. Like it's a guy, ours was a guy that like did a flashlight in there to like, and I'm like, ew, like, and you're like this little sheet, whatever. And then the ED unit's like connected to it. So like the people who were going through like their eating disorders, they were like on the other side of it.
I thought it was erectile dysfunction. I was like, they get a area?
Their own section?
I was like, that's crazy.
Oh my God. No, it was like, and it would, and you, it was so uncomfortable because like you could go across the way to the dining hall, but if you didn't do that, you had to eat there, and like the people with the ED would be there too. So it was like so uncomfortable.
Wow.
Well, that was what was interesting, is that we did have a lot of girls with eating disorders there, and we were just all mixed in together, and we would have group therapy together. So it was like a very like, I learned a lot about all the other different things that people were going through, and so. For that reason,
I'm out.
it was a good experience. Like it was more of like a learning experience.
Well, you're very empathetic. Did you ever like? Did you think you like took on their eating disorders a little bit?
No, my mom is a fucking bodybuilder. Of course, I was meant to have an eating disorder, but that wasn't my main issue. My main issue was like a whole lot of like obviously like childhood like sexual trauma and stuff like that.
Mine too. Oh, yeah,
Can I ask you about borderline, because I feel like that's a really big one that you hear a lot about, but I've never heard
from
anyone...
doctors. From my own therapist.
I've never heard anyone say like I was diagnosed with borderline.
There's a ton on TikTok now. I feel like I'm on BPD TikTok. Yeah, there's a lot. It's so funny because like it became somewhat like trendy now, this borderline, and so but then when you like exhibit borderline behaviors, people are like, oh, like too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
which
really
is
serious.
Yeah, it is, because there's like episodes, and you there, it's just always manic high, manic lows. I mean, it is what it is, and you gotta just control it. And with BBT, there's no medication for it, so it's like I go to DBT classes, which is like group therapy classes. So I'm in 2 group therapies now, and so
it's expensive, right? Isn't it? Like it's it's something you have to put a lot of.
It's so expensive, and
what's expensive?
The therapy,
the group
my
therapy,
boyfriend was,
and if you're in the group therapy, you have to be in individual therapy. Yeah, so you have to be in both at the same time, like simultaneously, and it's like it's super expensive. And it's a lot of work, and obviously it doesn't happen overnight. So like when people are like, oh, I thought she was getting better, and then it's like I have gotten so much better. This last blow up compared to the one in December, like that, it was better if people see it or whatever, but I've gotten better. It's just really trying to regulate your emotions, which is like really hard for me to do, and I like want to snap back. I'm so impulsive and I'm so reactionary, so. Which is how I ended up in the hospital too. Like the Alhambra, I was just like, that was the one where I was forced to go. I was at Cedars-Sinai and they forced me because I was just so reactionary. You know what I mean? Like that's when, we'll just say it, like Jason and David came into the hospital and I just like lost my shit. I took off my clothes. I ran away. I was trying to find a pen to like stab myself, and like it was crazy. It was like so intense. So then they forced me to go there. But it's just like these reactionary things that are just get me in trouble, which is what happened on the podcast. And yeah, it's no fun. And borderline's, a lot.
When they came to see you, was it for a fucking vlog, though?
No.
I was going to say, I think I would be fucking pissed, too.
I know. Well, it felt that way, though, because...
You felt like exploited, maybe.
Yeah, because Jason had just broken up with me that day, and David was ignoring me because I made a video about him. Like, so I was exiled from the group already. So this was like 5 days after I was exiled. So whatever, that's so dramatic. But yeah, they came, and my makeup artist was the one that like called 911 and went to the hospital with me. And then he told Jason like I was back in the middle of the hallway, and then I saw David come back and I lost my shit because I was like, no, you're the reason, like all this shit. I was so pissed. I was like, why are you here? And I never heard from him since, which is why, I mean, he's so fake, because it's like he never was like after like, are you okay? Because Jason came to visit me at the mental hospital, like, people knew and didn't even like check on me. I was like, okay, fake friends, whatever. To even be like, I'm not cool with you, but like, are you okay? So like it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. It happened so like long ago, but yeah. The Alhambra one was like crazy. I met this boxer. She's open about it, so I feel like I can. But her name was Mia St. John, and her son.
I know her.
You do?
I know of her. Yeah.
Yeah, her son. Well, and her her first husband. Like they both committed suicide, and her son did it in a mental hospital.
God.
Yeah, and so that's why she was in there, and she was like saying like, and then her husband was a famous soap opera actor who killed himself too, and she talks about it, and I've seen her on stuff, and I've tried to connect with her since getting out of there, but she was in there like sharing her story, and I was like where I like listen to other people's stories. And you're just like, whoa. And then there's some people in there who are in there for life because they just don't have anywhere else to go. And It was crazy. I tried to get out there as soon as I could, but
This is where it gets a little bit tricky and ties into the whole Britney Spears thing, is that, like, because I learned a lot about conservatorship. And, you know, from my understanding of it, it doesn't look as, like, as thieving as Britney Spears' situation is. Like, conservatorship is meant to protect, like, both, like, the family and the person who's like ill, right?
Yeah.
And that shit right there, when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, that girl is in an actual prison.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, Trish, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being Frenemies is absolutely over.
Look at her. Look at her.
She's doing this for her mother.
My
this
mom
is
texted me. I'm doing this for my mom.
This is her mom.
Okay, I'm gonna go for 0 to 10. 0 being it absolutely over, and 10 being fully back on. The family's happy. We're doing it. Where are you today?
today,
Just you, not even like, just regardless of what Ethan's feelings are. Like, how do
Right.
you feel today?
I think if you asked me this like yesterday, I would have said like 10. I'm ready to come back. But today it's a 0.5 because after he's like, the family hates Trish, I was like, this motherfucker. Like, I was like, that is not true. So I think that really set me back. Like,
Could you though look at it like this, like, and I could be completely wrong. Could you look at it knowing that the family doesn't hate you? Could you
Yeah.
look at it like those are his tools he's using to try to trigger you and not be triggered by it?
just trigger me and not be triggered?
Like, could you see like, no, could you see like, if you know, like you
Right.
have a great relationship with the family,
Yeah,
right? And you trust that.
Yeah, for sure.
So him saying that to you is a dig at you,
Yeah.
but it's not the truth.
for sure,
From
for
your-
sure.
right.
that-
It's
yeah.
coming from a place of hurt.
And
or,
he,
Yeah.
can you
I
see
can't
that
speak
as
for him,
his,
though.
Right.
as like, could you see that as that's his attempt to get you to be triggered? And then is there a way for you to just like,
Reflect it off.
Yeah, like let it go.
like shine the light on it?
Because I need that number to go up a bit. For my mom. For my mom.
Right. I mean, you know what? I'll just say, I don't know if I should say this, but it's fine, whatever. So he actually asked me to come do like one final episode on Monday, right? Like, but I don't. Just be like between us, because after that I was like, I don't really trust it.
Yeah.
Because I saw him do this like interview with like a conservative person, like this debater. Did you see that?
The like prank thing.
Yeah, Steven Crowder, and then he
Yeah.
like did a switch. He kind of like ambushed him and switched him with like someone to debate him, and it was like. It was a little tricky, and he hasn't told me details. And because he did that, and because he said, I do not accept a Trisha's apology, I think it's like, it almost feels like a setup where he may be trying to ambush me. That's how I'm feeling
I would
right
trust
now.
that instinct.
Right.
That sounds,
So
yeah, like it's.
originally I said yes. I wanted to come on because he has merch made, and
But
I was like, I'll help you.
Is
but
there a way for you to have control over that more? Like, can
Yeah.
you have it on your terms? Like, are you able to have him come to you? And, like, could you have a crew filming it? instead
Or
of
like,
his
is there
crew?
some like contract?
I think once I saw it, because this week he had his parents on and they were just like trashing me. His dad said something about my weight. His mom said I was toxic.
You look so cute, by the way. Don't
know,
even
thank
fucking look.
you.
You look
Thank you.
fucking
I'm
adorable.
literally like, you're like the first person I wear. I'm like starstruck in person. Like, you're so pretty.
I know. I'm like, I want the hair. I'm gonna like really.
Like,
try
I got
to
glam
get
for you
this.
guys. I don't look like this most of the time.
It
I'm
looks
usually like
so
short
good,
hair.
though.
I got glam for you guys.
This, we glammed for you too, believe it or not. This is as glam
Sadly,
as it's
I
gonna
actually
get.
did glam.
Esther, do you want you? If you give me $5, I'll do your makeup.
Fiverr. Are you a Fiverr
I'm
employee?
on Fiverr. Did you get my ex-boyfriend ones on Fiverr?
No, I saw your ex-boyfriend on TaskRabbit.
Oh, is there a fucking better revenge?
And I'm a very good friend for telling you.
Yeah, that is literally the funniest
But
thing
I'm
ever.
just gonna go ahead and say, like, I cannot live without TaskRabbit. So
Really?
kudos to him and all the side hustlers there.
What's TaskRabbit?
Oh, true. Yeah. No,
Yes.
we don't. Dave is so not a man. He can't even hang posters on our wall. We have like a hot guy off TaskRabbit who comes and does everything for us.
Oh,
Is
it's
it-
like a handy?
Yeah,
Yes, it's
it's
a
like
handyman. It's
whatever
an
you
app
need.
for a hand. It's like an Uber for handyman. I'm gonna call.